We just got a new addition to the Tales series. Who are we following this time? Bright Suns, everybody, Batuuboii here, and welcome to another review video for Tales. If you've been following the anthology series, Tales, whether you know it from Jedi, Empire, or now Underworld, is an anthology series coming out of Lucasfilm Animation that started back in 2022 with Tales of the Jedi, which followed Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku in their respective rights. Ahsoka kind of growing up literally when she was born, up until she does her Jedi training, and then follows her events after Order 66, and Count Dooku seeing his fall to the dark side, which was some of the best Lucasfilm animations, or let alone just some of the best Star Wars content we've gotten in a very long time. We then got the inevitable follow-up with Tales of the Empire last year on May the 4th, which followed Morgan Elsbeth and Barriss Offee. Morgan Elsbeth, who's in my opinion, arc left a lot to be desired, follows her kind of upbringing and rise through the Empire, whereas Barriss Offee, who betrays the Jedi Order in Clone Wars, is now seeing her antics after Order 66 transpires, and it's kind of like her redemption arc, and it was honestly really good. I really enjoyed it. With this follow-up, we got another May the 4th release following Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane, big fan favorite, so it was really nice to kind of see him return to animation. We hadn't really seen him since Bad Batch. It just left us thinking, what are they going to follow up with Cad Bane? I kind of think we can go over just a brief run through of each arc and the episodes and kind of important details, and kind of give you my opinions on which one I thought was the better of the arcs. So the first 3 episodes, we follow Asajj, where it opens up, honestly, one of the craziest openings, with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Quinlan Vos carrying Asajj Ventress's dead body into a lake of some sorts. In Bad Batch Season 3, we honestly just kind of see her walk away. We kind of just jumps to this random part in history where, like, we're thinking, where the heck has Quinlan Vos been this entire time? And I'm guessing it's some sort of reference to the book Dark Disciples, which follows Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress, and they are basically in love with each other as he drops her body into this pool and essentially says, I have always loved you, and walks away. Who, as they're walking away, we see Asajj Ventress's spirit essentially resurrected by Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters, and she's essentially given a choice whether to join her Night Sisters in the ancestral realm or continue to walk the land of the living in search of her lost love in Quinlan Vos. She chooses to live again in the land of the living, and that's where we get our first title card for Tales of the Underworld, and the title, A Way Forward, for episode 1. We see her kind of doing an odd job of being a bodyguard in this like train station, essentially, where she's just kicking people out who don't have money. As we go through, we meet this young kid who tries to buy a train ticket, who doesn't have enough credits, but he tries to do a Jedi mind trick on the sales representative. I don't know another word to call it. He tries unsuccessfully. Asajj sees this kind of weird thing going on with him right until she can figure out what's going on with him. Stormtroopers come barging in. She successfully performs the Jedi mind trick on the stormtroopers until he pretty much says that there is a big reward for this wanted person, and the the sales representative essentially gives them up. A fight ensues. He pulls out a lightsaber as they go on the run from the stormtroopers trying to find a way off the planet. It's also here that we learn that he is trying to find something called the Path, which is this kind of like escape route for Jedi who are escaping Order 66. Come to find out that it is being led by Quinlan Vos, so this obviously piques Asajj's interest, so she joins the young Jedi. On their way to the ship, they come into contact with an Inquisitor, who I'm not really sure if they gave a number to. I have not seen this Inquisitor before, but apparently he knows Asajj Ventress as they're fighting. The young Jedi comes to try and hit the Inquisitor. He knocks his lightsaber out of his hand, and this now gives Asajj Ventress back her second saber, a nice yellow and blue saber that we've seen all throughout the trailers, which looks great. The fight breaks out. It's awesome. It's not going so well towards the end for Asajj Ventress as she's pinned to the ground, and as the Inquisitor tries to kill her, the young Jedi shoots the sabers into his back and kills him, and they're able to get up onto a ship and escape the planet. And throughout the whole episode, we now learn that this young Jedi is named Lyko, and he's been asking Asajj who she is, how does she know the ways of the Jedi, and it's also here where she kind of reveals herself as Count Dooku's former assassin and says that she's probably killed people that he knows, and reveals her name to be Asajj Ventress. And that's the end of that first episode. Crazy introduction to it. Big payoff leading into the second episode entitled Friends, where we see Asajj trying to find this bounty hunter who can assist them in finding the path. They land on this like kind of seedy looking planet where they eventually find the bounty hunter who's named Lots, and her droid companion kind of just looks like one of these other like bounty hunter droids, kind of like IG-11. It's also here that Lots essentially says, oh, I'll help you try and find the path if you can help me out with trying to find this shield unit from an Imperial base, which they agree to. And there's a lot of this like kind of deception as she pulls Lyko into a room and says, oh, you know, you shouldn't trust Asajj. She killed some of your kind. I can assist you in getting off world if we just basically double cross Asajj. Lyko doesn't really agree to it at first. As they go up to this Imperial camp, they go and try to steal this shield unit. It is sort of going well until all hell breaks loose in perfect Star Wars fashion. Lyko and Asajj are able to get into this like giant ball where they're housing the shield unit and are able to get it out. A whole lot of hilarity ensues as Asajj finds a new escape route, which involves cutting the wires of this giant ball that starts rolling through the Imperial camp, which is a pretty funny visual. It's also here that in perfect bounty hunter form, Lots pretty much just says, forget the shield unit, we're just gonna go and kidnap these Jedi and turn them in for the bounty because they're worth more alive than dead. Lots and Asajj are able to make quick work of these two bounty hunters, and in exchange for Lots' life, they're able to go and give the coordinates to where the landing point for the path is, so they can go and escape together and find Quinlan Vos. This leads into the third and final episode of the arc, entitled One Warrior to Another, where they find themselves on a desert planet running out of water, and they find a house in the middle of literally nowhere, housed with a bunch of just like scarecrows, but they're all battle droids with like little cardboard blasters. They're able to get in. They meet this older gentleman bound to a wheelchair who, kind of giving context clues, and there's also medals on the wall, we can assume that he was a high-ranking officer for the separatist like droid army, as he also knows who Asajj Ventress is and about her past and everything. And they kind of get into this like sort of debate as to like maybe the separatists were right because the Republic ended up just becoming the Empire, who is now making everybody's life miserable. But obviously both sides weren't really in the right during that war because it was all being orchestrated by one really funny old man. So they ask if they can get assistance in getting to the landing point for the path. He says that his granddaughter can help them, but they need to go and get water. It's been very difficult to go and get water, and there's this little pool out in the middle of the desert that they have been trying to get a hold of, but there have been raiders that have basically just been blasting at them this entire time. So Asajj agrees. They go out into the desert to try and get this water. All hell breaks loose as these not Tusken Raiders looking aliens start shooting at them. A chase breaks loose, and come to find out that Lyko, because he's a Jedi, knows a lot of these different languages from all these different walks of life and is able to communicate with these alien raiders, and pretty much come to find out that they're stealing their water. They kind of deduce that they can sort of have a conversation, a kind of like non-violent confrontation as to how they can both share the water. The aliens essentially come out to this old man's farm, and he is ready to just shoot them all to hell before Asajj essentially says that you need to listen to them. You've been so stuck in war your whole life that you don't know any other way. And it's a really just gripping scene of this officer like literally just holding on to his rifle and literally says it's so hard to let go because he's been in war for so long. Inevitably, he's able to let go of his blaster and actually have a conversation with these raiders and are able to kind of work things out, which is a really nice moment. This also leads into one of the raiders being able to lead Asajj and Lyko directly to the landing point for the path. We literally see a ship there getting people on there ready to leave. We don't see Quinlan Vos, but I mean, we can assume that he's either on the ship or he is at the next destination that this ship is going to. Asajj pushes Lyko to go on his own. Very touching moment as she's kind of letting go of her past and essentially saying that like there's no other life that she can lead. But all of a sudden, out shows Lyko, who's become very attached to Asajj and kind of sees her as his like friend. Asajj is known as this loner, as this like she doesn't work with anybody, like, so we don't really get to see her have a good relationship, at least in Clone Wars. Obviously in the book she has a pretty damn good relationship with Quinlan Vos, but it's nice to have this moment now where Lyko pretty much tags along with Asajj to go on a numerous amount of adventures in the future, and that's where her arc ends. Obviously a pretty redeeming arc for Asajj Ventress, who now is just essentially living the life of somebody in the underworld and just doing some odd jobs here and there, but at least now she has some sort of companion, another like force sensitive user that she can lean to. Honestly, I think it would make for a lot of fun adventures moving forward. Now we move into Cad Bane's arc, which is pretty much how did he become Cad Bane. In this next episode called The Good Life, we follow these two Duros, one blue, one green, pretty much getting into just a bunch of like random antics, just digging through trash, trying to find food, kind of swindle their way through the neighborhood, which I thought was like space Brooklyn looking. It was really interesting, kind of looking like Godfather-esque, Goodfellas. Like there's like the bridge for the subway over the streets. Like it's very Brooklyn looking. We're seeing these kids run around until we find a nice little cowboy hatted Durin, who we think sort of is Cad Bane, but until you hear him speak, you're like, yeah, that's not Cad Bane. He essentially gives them some gold and calls them an investment. They go, they spend it on candy. They come back and they find this gentleman again who says, how would you like to make double of that? You're going to help me out in essentially robbing this underground casino found in the candy store. We also come to find out that these two Durins' names are Colby and Nero. Colby's blue, Nero's green. As the mission is going on, they're kind of distracting the casino owner. The hatted gentleman goes with his crew and essentially just destroys this casino. The cops show up. They start running. Nero and Colby are falling behind. Nero a little bit farther. The cops are able to grab Nero. The hatted gentleman is there screaming at Colby to get in the vehicle, and Colby is left with a choice to either go with his new family or go save his friend, and he chooses to go with the gangsters. Crazy scene, just like this incredibly difficult choice that leads into Colby finally getting into a gang. That is where the episode ends. We then go into the next episode called A Good Turn, which follows years after that incident has happened, and we now see a grown-up Colby, now going under the name Cad Bane, preparing for their next mission, and while they're doing that, a ship essentially just crashes through their building, and it's their ship, and they're wondering, where's Laszlo? Laszlo being that had a gentleman in the first episode. We come to find out that he's died on their last mission. Cad Bane asks where it happened, and it ended up happening on his home planet, and we find out that he was killed by the Marshal on that planet, so he goes to seek out his revenge. He gets on a ship and heads over to his home planet. Once there, he actually runs into Nero, his old friend, and they embrace. It's really touching, and we find out that Nero has actually joined the law enforcement in an attempt to kind of revitalize the community and not make it so lawless and gangsterish. He tells Nero that he is going to go and kill the Marshal. Obviously, Nero's not about that idea because that's his boss. She tells him to please just stay out of trouble before anybody gets hurt. Later on down the line, Cad Bane literally just blows up a building. Like he just throws a thermal detonator into a building and just blows it up. This brings out the Marshal, but it also brings out Erin, who we see as kind of like Cad Bane's girlfriend, to go out and see what's going on and hope that Cad Bane is not injured. The Marshal comes out and it ensues in this super Western feeling showdown, which we love to see. This arc has felt like such a Western. The score is very spaghetti Western. It's just amazing. Eren shows up, Nero shows up. As they watch this duel ensue, they both get a hold of their blasters and shoot at each other. Cad Bane's blaster shot lands on the Marshal with Nero holding onto his dead body. But we saw that the Marshal was able to get off a shot that didn't hit Cad Bane, but it hit Eren. He goes to her. Obviously, Cad Bane is real pissed as he tries to go and incite a duel between him and Nero, but he's not able to do that because Eren stole Cad Bane's blaster. He gets arrested, and Nero essentially asks him, was it all worth it? And Cad Bane, in just his gravelly little voice, says, it will be. And the episode ends with them zooming in on Cad Bane's face. Just great episode. It just leads to even more Western, crazy, amazing stuff with the last episode, One Good Deed. Literally looking at my notes here, and there wasn't many because I was honestly just so enthralled with this last episode, which is another time jump. We see that Nero is now the marshal of this planet who's still on this mission of bringing the community back to some sort of order. We come to find out that Cad Bane is being imprisoned for 5 years and that he got off on some sort of technicality. And we know that Cad Bane is on the 12 p.m. shuttle on the way to the planet. We also find out that Nero has a kid. He essentially was betrothed to Eren, that they kind of got together after Cad Bane was arrested. 2 of Cad Bane's crew is still on the planet, kind of watching, and we can assume just feeding intel back to Cad Bane as to what's going on, so that way Cad Bane's in the know by the time he gets onto the planet. Cad Bane gets off on this shuttle, and he is sounding the most Cad Bane that we have heard throughout this entire arc, because we kind of had his kid voice, had his adolescent voice, which was kind of there, but now this is like full grown without the tubes. But it's Cad Bane, and he's out there. He's gonna go find Nero, and he's gonna kill him. Just cold-blooded, just assassin-type behavior. Nero keeps insisting that his son, Isaac, just stay behind and don't come looking for him. Like, he is gonna go and try and rectify these things with Cad Bane and use his words, because as we know, Cad Bane loves to talk before shooting. They go into this long street, and it is very, very Western-esque. Like, the guitars are going, the horns are going, like it's very Western feeling at this point as they get ready to essentially draw, and a shootout breaks out between Cad Bane, his 2 crew members, and Nero, as he's also there protecting his son, who obviously didn't listen and is now just in the middle of this firefight. Nero keeps insisting to Cad Bane that he needs to tell him something. He needs to tell him what's going on. They then get into this duel. They're readying their blasters, and where Nero pulls out one, Cad Bane does this diabolical thing and pulls out 2 blasters and essentially just shoots up Nero to the ground. Cad Bane approaches Nero as he's dying, and Isaac is there holding his father's body. Cad Bane says, "You took everything from me," to which Nero replies, "Not everything," insinuating that Isaac is actually Cad Bane's son. Cad Bane starts to realize what he meant by that as he's watching Isaac hold his dead father's body and just crying as all of these townsfolk come into the street to kind of console Isaac, as we watch Cad Bane just walk off into the sunset, and the episode and the series is over. Just an amazing way to cap off the arc of the best bounty hunter, I believe. I mean, Django, Boba Fett, all great, but Cad Bane is just cold-blooded, and this arc just continues to prove it. Obviously, in my opinion, Cad Bane had the much stronger arc. It was just like go, go, go from the first episode up until this crescendo, as we now see him just go on to do just more diabolical things throughout his life and career up until his end in Boba Fett. But let me know what you thought. What did you think of this Tales anthology series? What are some other things that you have in regards to Tales of the Underground? Let me know what you think down in the comments. But until next time, and hopefully by next year's May the 4th, till the spire, my friends.